6 months pregnant, she thought grief was the worst thing she would ever survive. Then one phone call led her to a hidden trust, a sealed letter, and a truth so brutal it shattered everything she believed about love, loyalty, and family. Her dead husband had left behind a roadmap of betrayal, and the moment she opened it, a secret affair, stolen money, and a carefully built lie began to collapse.
6 months into my pregnancy, I had a technician setting up the smart nursery in our Seattle penthouse. He called, his voice tight with urgency. You need to get home right now, and you should come by yourself. I found a hidden drive in the server closet. I rushed out of my meeting, my heart pounding, when I saw the sleek black drive labeled in my late husband's script. I knew his secrets were about to surface. I'm so glad you're here. Let me know where you're listening from. I love knowing who is part of this community. A quick disclaimer: this story blends real experiences with fictional details for privacy. Any names or places that seem familiar are coincidental. But the emotion, that part, is very real. It all started with that technician's call. I was in prenatal yoga, trying to find my center almost a year after Arthur died. A year of waking up to his side of the bed being empty. A year of pretending to be strong when I was falling apart. The meditation was getting me through it until my phone buzzed. Guilt shot through me for checking my phone during class, but an instinct told me to look. The ID was AV Home Systems, the tech I'd hired. The message was brief but terrifying. Mrs. Vance, please come home now, come alone. A chill went down my spine. I looked at the other expecting mothers and suddenly felt trapped. I grabbed my things, hurried out, and dialed the text number. Leo, what's happening? I struggled to keep my voice from shaking. His tone was professional but tense, like someone trying not to cause a panic. I discovered something behind the server rack. You have to see this, just you. Is it dangerous? My mind raced through worst case scenarios. No, but he paused. I think your husband left this for you. Please come home. The line went dead. Arthur left something for me. The elevator ride to our penthouse felt like it took an hour. My hands were gripping my purse so hard my knuckles turned white. What could Arthur have hidden? And why did Leo sound so disturbed? Arthur died in a sailing accident off Puget Sound. He was 38, brilliant and careful. We built Vance Innovations together. His younger sister, Genevieve, was our COO. Why hadn't I known anything? The familiar comfort of my home was gone, replaced by a sense of dread. Leo was waiting in the foyer, his expression somber. The leak wasn't the main issue, he said, his voice low. He guided me to the media closet. The large server rack that always sat perfectly aligned against the back wall had been shifted. I could see new scuff marks on the hardwood floor. Someone was back here recently. Do you see these marks? I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. Behind the rack, a small biometric safe was built into the wall. I had never seen it before. Leo pointed to the fingerprint scanner. The connection here was tampered with. Someone tried to force their way in a few days ago. When they failed, they pushed the rack back, causing the network glitch you called about. Someone broke into our home to get into this safe. Leo nodded. And the safe, it wasn't forced, it just requires a primary user's print. Do you want me to stay as a witness? Yes, please. My hand was shaking as I pressed my thumb to the scanner. It clicked open. Inside was a single black hard drive. On top, a note in Arthur's handwriting. For Clara. Only, I held my breath and took out the drive. It wasn't locked. Inside were meticulously organized files, an encrypted folder, and a single text document labeled Read Me First. A password hint was scrawled on the note, the name of the gallery where we had our first date. Leo took a step back. This is personal. I'll be downstairs if you need anything. He left, pulling the door closed, and I was alone. The room still had the faint scent of Arthur's sandalwood cologne. I could almost feel him beside me, waiting for me to uncover the truth. With trembling hands, I opened the letter. The first line was a punch to the gut. Clara, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and it means my sister is coming for you and our child. I stopped reading. I couldn't breathe. Genevieve, my baby sister in law, this was a mistake. It had to be a mistake. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I nearly dropped the laptop. I could barely pull my phone out. It was a text from Genevieve herself. Thinking about you. Want to go look at cribs tomorrow? The timing felt malicious, too coincidental. I looked back at the encrypted folder, thick with files, and the letter I had only just started. Whatever Arthur discovered, it was big enough to hide behind a wall of secrets. Someone had tried to get to it, and now I had to know why. I sat on the cool floor and forced myself to read on. My phone kept buzzing, but I silenced it. This couldn't wait. I read the words aloud, the only way I could make them real. Clara, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Genevieve has been stealing from Vance Innovations for 2 years, over $1 million. She created fake marketing firms and billed us for work she never did. I have proof. But it's worse than that. She tried to frame you. She forged your signature on contracts. She created fake emails from your account to make it look like you were planning to leave me. I confronted her in January. She cried, she begged for another chance. I agreed because she is my family and I didn't want this to tear us apart. She didn't stop. She escalated. By March, I knew she was dangerous. This drive has everything. The password is our most cherished memory. If you're here, she came looking for this and triggered a silent alert on the network. I was supposed to see our lawyer, Warren, the day after the accident. I should have told you immediately. I was trying to protect you. That was a mistake. Everything you need is on this drive. Finish this for us. I love you, Arthur. Peace. Don't trust her. My own sister Isabel had funneled over $450,000 from our company and then set me up to take the fall. My husband Julian had figured it out. He'd spent a year gathering proof against his own sister in law, sitting across from her at family dinners as if nothing was wrong. He died the night before he planned to tell me everything. The coroner said it was his heart, an unknown congenital defect that finally gave out. But I knew the stress had to have been a trigger. A heavy, sickening guilt settled over me. A weak heart is a cruel twist of fate. I pushed the thought away and looked back at the safe, hidden behind the painting. The cash was inside, bound in neat stacks. I counted it, my hands shaking. Almost $40,000, a mix of hundreds and fifties. Julian must have been withdrawing it in small amounts over months, careful not to alert Isabel. Below the money was a thick file of bank records. I pulled them out. 4 years of statements, each with a transaction highlighted in blue ink, next to the name Azure Interiors. Julian had filled the margins with his notes, calculations, question marks, and circled dates. On the very last page, he'd written in red ink, total $452,500. Gone. A slim black hard drive was labeled in his precise script, for Clara proof. I set it aside and found the single key he'd mentioned. Taped to the back of the safe was a small brass key with a tag that read, the Charleston Depository, Unit 317. He had a storage unit I never knew about. A soft chime from the security panel made me jump. Ben, is everything okay? He was our security technician. I realized I'd been kneeling on the floor for nearly an hour, my knees aching. I need a moment, I said, my voice thin. Ben stood in the doorway. The system update is complete. The network is secure now, ma'am, but you should know your office door sensor was manually bypassed several times this past year. He offered me his card. If this turns into a legal matter, I can provide the full access logs. I saw the records, the exact times of entry. Thank you, Ben. He gave a slight nod and left, his quiet footsteps disappearing down the hall. I was alone with the evidence of my sister's deception. I carried the safe's contents to the kitchen island. It was after 1 p.m. Hours had passed since I'd gotten home. The house was utterly still. I plugged the hard drive into my laptop and a password field appeared instantly. I typed our anniversary, October 5th, 2017. Access denied. Julian's words from his letter echoed in my thoughts. The password is our deepest sorrow, the one thing we never speak of, our private grief. What grief had we shared that Isabel couldn't possibly know? By midnight, I had tried 20 different passwords. All of them failed. I had worked through all the logical choices, my fingers growing stiff as the hours ticked by in the dark kitchen. Only the screen's glow lit the room. Anniversary, October 5th, 2017. Denied. My birthday, May 20th, 1985. Denied. Julian's birthday, November 4th, 1981. Denied. Our address, King Street. Denied. The firm's name, Davenport and Croft. Denied. I tried every combination of our names I could imagine. Clara Julian, Julian Clara, all denied. The Charleston zip code 29401, denied. I was getting nowhere. I began typing random words, feeling foolish, secret, betrayal, Isabel, denied, denied, denied. By 11 o'clock, I'd exhausted every idea. The blinking cursor mocked me. I resisted the urge to throw the hard drive against the wall. It was the only proof I had. I leaned back, closing my eyes against the screen's glare. Julian's favorite coffee mug was still in the dish drainer. I couldn't bring myself to put away his things. His sweater was still draped over a chair, just as he'd left it. Small, ordinary pieces of a life that was now gone forever. I opened my eyes and looked at his letter on the counter. The password is our deepest sorrow. Sorrow, not a celebration, not a happy memory. What was the one profound pain we had carried together, hidden from everyone? The oven clock read 12:47 a.m. It was far too late to call anyone, but I couldn't do this by myself. I picked up my phone and dialed Maya. We had been inseparable since law school, from 2009 to 2012. She had been my maid of honor. She held me together at Julian's funeral. If anyone could help me think straight, it was her. She answered on the third ring, her voice heavy with sleep. Clara, it's almost 1 in the morning. I found something, Maya. Julian left something for me. I need your help. Can you come? Her voice sharpened with concern. Are you all right? Are you safe? I'm safe. I just need you here. 15 minutes. Maya lived only 10 minutes away, but she always gave herself a buffer. She was practical. It was why we'd always been so close. As promised, my doorbell rang at 1:15 a.m. She was 40, her dark hair pulled back in a clip. She was an attorney specializing in corporate fraud. Divorced, no kids, and fiercely protective. Tonight she wore yoga pants and a Georgetown Law sweatshirt. Okay, she said, stepping inside and locking the door. Tell me everything. I showed her the contents of the safe. The letter, the cash, the bank statements, the password-protected drive. She read Julian's letter twice. Her lips pressed into a firm line. When she was done, she looked at me, her eyes wide. Isabel? Your sister, Isabel? I could only nod. $450,000. In 4 years, Maya whistled softly. That's not just theft, Clara. That's a conspiracy. And she tried to pin it on you. She created fake invoices. That little Maya caught herself, which was rare for her. I love that she never filtered her thoughts. A dry, exhausted laugh escaped my lips. Maya sat across from me at the island. Okay, the password. Deepest sorrow. What have you tried? I showed her the list I'd made on my laptop. She scanned it quickly. Clara, these are all milestones. Anniversaries, birthdays, your business. She tapped the letter. He said sorrow. What's the one sorrow you two shared that nobody else knows about? Her gaze softened. Not even me. My heart stopped. There was only one thing Julian had ever called our deepest sorrow. The secret we never spoke of to anyone. Not to my parents, not to Isabel, not even to Maya. My voice was a whisper. I think I know. Maya leaned closer. What is it? I shook my head. Not yet. I just need to look at the bank statements first, to see it for myself. She didn't press. She never did. Okay, she said gently, let's lay it all out. Let's see what she did. We moved the laptop aside and spread the papers across the island. 4 years of statements fanned out before us. A timeline of betrayal marked in blue ink. Azure Interiors, January 2018, $9,100. Maya read the first highlighted entry. She looked up at me. Is that a real company? I shook my head. I've never heard of them. Every month for 4 years, we went through the statements Azure Interiors for design consultation, Azure Interiors for material sourcing. The payee was always the same. The descriptions were vague and the amounts changed, always staying just below the amount that would trigger a review. The language was meaningless corporate jargon. Maya pointed at the name Azure. That's Isabel's favorite color, isn't it? She married Leo Azure in 2016, a year before this started. Maya opened her phone's calculator and began entering the highlighted amounts one by one. The total grew quickly 100,000, 200,000. Finally, she put the phone down. $452,500. Julian was right. I calculated it in my head. That's nearly $10,000 a month. For 4 years, our firm manages 20 high end properties. That's nearly $14,000 a month in sourcing fees. Maya zoomed in on the screen. For what art exactly? That's the problem. I've never seen Isabel at an auction. She visits the gallery maybe twice a year. Maya highlighted another transaction, pointing at the details. So where did the funds go? I pointed to the routing number on the invoice. Into that account. Leo had flagged it in red on the last spreadsheet. We scrolled to the bottom. Leo had added a note, Act 91 BICV, Isabel's personal savings per bank trace. Personal, not business. Maya leaned back from her monitor. She wasn't billing for services rendered. She was just taking the money. I nodded, the cold truth settling in my stomach. Leo had left comments in the margins of several files. The first note appeared on a file from June 2019. His note read, Provenance unclear. Ask I. He suspected something was wrong back then, but the detailed logs didn't start until September 2019. September. Check Shell Corp Registry, November. Galleries have never heard of her. March 2020, forged authentications, IP traces. His notes grew more frantic. By December 2020, after confronting Isabel and giving her 6 months to repay, they turned grim. The final entry was dated February 2021. Meeting with Davies, March 1st. He had all the proof. He died on February the 28th, 2 days before he could show his lawyer. I stared at the screen, a lump forming in my throat. He was so close. Maya reached over, her voice soft. He did the heavy lifting, Clara. He found everything. I just nodded, speechless. Maya's tone shifted, becoming all business. I run financial background checks all the time for my firm. I can look up Isabel Creative Ventures right now. Can you do it tonight? She was already typing. The corporate databases are always online. First thing tomorrow, wait, it is Monday. I'll have the records in 5 minutes, she said. If it's a real company, it will have a state registration, a tax ID, a real address. And if it's not real, then it's just a name on a server. That's wire fraud, Clara. With this much money, she trailed off. If she stole all this, we're talking about a federal case. The quiet in the room was crushing. Clara, Maya said gently, with these figures, if she did this, she's facing serious prison time. Years. But she's my sister. She's a thief who tried to ruin your life. I couldn't deny it. Maya tapped the screen. Leo gave her 6 months, from September 2020 to February 2021. The log said so. And it says she never paid back a dime. She just created more fake documents. Maya met my gaze. She had a chance to fix this. She chose this path. I looked at the spreadsheets, at Leo's precise notes, at the red flags that marked each transfer. My sister had siphoned over $700,000 from our gallery. She'd created fake histories for paintings, and when Leo gave her an out, she dug in deeper. What am I supposed to do? I whispered. Maya's voice was firm. Today, I'll get you the corporate filings. By noon, we'll know for sure. Then what? Then you call a lawyer. Leo mentioned a Mr. Davies in his log. That's who he was meeting. Should I contact him? Yes. But wait until we confirm the shell company. Go to him with undeniable facts. I nodded, bone tired. The clock on my laptop read 2:47 a.m. Maya signed off the video call. You need to sleep. Call me if you need anything. I'm okay. You get some rest before your day starts. You sure? I'm sure. Her image froze, then vanished. I was alone, staring at the screen. 48 months of deception. $712,000. My sister's betrayal, laid out in spreadsheets and private logs. At 2:58 a.m., my phone buzzed. Who texts at 3 in the morning? I checked the message. Mom, Diana, a text. Can't sleep, thinking of you. Have you started organizing Leo's digital files? Call me. I stared at her words. 2:58 a.m. She was awake, asking about Leo's computer. Why? Why now, 9 months after he was gone? Was she suddenly concerned about his files? I didn't answer. I just took a screenshot. Something felt deeply wrong. I managed 3 hours of sleep. At 8:15 a.m., my phone rang. It was my mother. I answered, my voice thick with sleep. Mom! Diana's voice was sharp. Clara, just checking on you. Her first call in weeks. She had been so distant since the funeral, creating a space between us I couldn't comprehend. I thought she held me responsible for not seeing how stressed he was, for not protecting him. How have you been? Diana asked. Gallery's fine. The conversation felt rehearsed, hollow. Then, have you gone through Leo's office computer yet? His work files? My internal alarm went off. Why do you ask? Diana hesitated for a bit too long. It's been 9 months. Organizing can help with moving on. I've started to look at some things, I said cautiously. Her voice tightened. The business files or just personal stuff? Both. Is there something specific you're worried about? A long pause. No, Diana said at last. It's just, if you find anything confusing, any of the finances, you should talk to Isabel first. She knows that side of the business so well. I squeezed the phone. You want me to ask Isabel about Leo's financial records? She handled all the art sourcing for Leo. She would know if an invoice seemed out of place. Diana was directing me, but why? What did she know? I'll keep that in mind, I said, my voice flat. Good, I have to run. Talk soon. She disconnected. No, I love you. Not a drop of warmth, just a click. I stood in my kitchen, phone in hand, the timing, a text at 2:58 a.m., a call at 8:15 a.m. about Leo's files. Was someone coaching her? I walked to the patio door, looking at the ceramic pot where we kept the spare key. The key was there, but it was sitting on top of the soil, not buried like I always left it. When did I last use that key? I couldn't recall. Maybe last summer when I forgot my purse. Or was that 2 years ago? I checked the door to his home office. No scratches, no sign of forced entry. But anyone who knew about the key wouldn't need to break in. Family would know. Isabel had been here hundreds of times. She knew the layout, knew our habits, knew about the emergency key. Leo mentioned his desk drawer was jammed 2 or 3 weeks ago in late November. I was often at the gallery 2 or 3 evenings a week. The apartment was empty from 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. on those nights. Ample time for someone to let themselves in. At 9:30 a.m., my phone lit up with a text from Isabel. Hey, thinking of you? Miss you? We should get coffee this week. The breezy tone felt like a slap. The last real conversation we had was at the funeral 9 months ago. Before that, we had been inseparable. Isabel was 5 years my junior, 34 to my 39. The baby sister everyone doted on. She married a quiet architect, Mark, in 2016. No kids. They lived across town. She'd been our acquisitions consultant since 2018, which I now understood was a lie. I looked at the text. Two things were clear. The timing was no coincidence. Mom at 8:15, Isabel at 9:30. Isabel hadn't reached out for months, and now she's desperate for coffee. They had spoken, they were coordinating. One or both of them knew I was getting close to something. I typed back, choosing my words. Sure. How's Thursday at 2 p.m.? I needed to see her face to watch her lie. Isabel's response was instant, perfect. The cafe on 5th Street. Can't wait. The exclamation points felt aggressive. Another act in this twisted play. I typed, see you then. I put my phone down. She didn't know I'd found the hidden files. She didn't know about Leo's log. She didn't know I was aware of the $712,000 she stole. Let her think everything was normal. I would play my part too. At 10:03 a.m., my phone rang. It was Maya. I'm at my desk. I pulled the corporate records for Isabel Creative Ventures, registered December 2017, 1 month after she officially started working with you. My heart sank. Maya's voice was grim. Sole proprietor Isabel Reed. No employees, no office, just a postal box in another city. It's a complete shell, Clara. It has no purpose other than to send invoices to your gallery. Maya paused. Clara, this is premeditated. She set up the shell company before she sent you the very first bill. She planned this from the start. Yes. The silence stretched between us. I could hear the distant sounds of Maya's office, a world away from mine. What do you want to do? Maya asked softly. I need to call that lawyer, Mr. Davies, the one Leo was supposed to see. Do you want me to come with you? Not yet, I said, but soon. After ending the call, I opened my tablet and searched online for Arthur Jones, Private Investigator, Boston. A discreet website surfaced, Jones Investigations, specializing in corporate espionage and marital infidelity. The contact number was prominent at the top. My thumb hesitated above the screen. Alex had an appointment with this man on March 1st. He passed away on February 28th. I tapped the number. 3 days later, I was watching my sister Megan enter the cafe, her smile as bright and hollow as I remembered. I had claimed a corner table at 10 to 2, a full 10 minutes early to see her arrive. The Gilded Spoon was bustling for a Thursday, still humming with the late lunch crowd. The rich scent of espresso and almond pastries hung in the air. A murmur of conversation surrounded me, punctuated by the clatter of ceramic on saucers and the steamer wand's sharp hiss. I needed a moment to watch Megan when her guard was down. At 2 minutes to 2, she swept in, a black YSL tote slung over her arm. Was that a gift from her husband David's finance salary, or from Alex's stolen millions? Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, the kind of sleek finish that screamed a $200 salon visit. She wore a tailored cashmere coat over a silk blouse and dark-fitted trousers. Every part of her was polished and impeccable. The ankle boots, the subtle gold jewelry, the flawless makeup. She looked like a woman who had absolutely no secrets. The smile that bloomed on her face when she spotted me was brilliant, practiced. She navigated the tables and wrapped me in a stiff hug, her expensive perfume cloying and heavy. You look tired, she said, pulling back to study my face. Are you getting any rest? I managed a weak smile. Some nights are better than others. We took our seats. A waitress with purple hair and a kind face appeared. I asked for a chamomile tea. Megan ordered a caramel macchiato with extra whipped cream. So, Megan began, lacing her fingers on the table. How are you really holding up? I'm managing, I replied. Work is a good distraction. She gave a sympathetic nod. It's good to keep busy. It helps. Then came the empty chatter. We talked about the crisp autumn weather, how the leaves were turning so beautifully this year. We discussed Thanksgiving. Did I have any plans? Was I going to our cousin's place? Megan was hosting a small get-together at her apartment with just her, David, and a couple of friends. I should join them. I'll see, I said. She leaned in, her voice dropping to a confidential whisper. I spoke to mom last week. She says you've been distant. She's worried. Grief isn't linear, Megan, I said, my voice flat. I know, of course. She reached out, her hand cool on mine. I just hate thinking of you rattled around in that huge house by yourself. It's so much space for one person. I'm fine, she paused, choosing her next words with care. You know, if you ever thought about selling, David and I could help. The Boston market is incredible right now. We know an amazing realtor, she added. You could find a nice condo, make a fresh start. How convenient. Was she trying to get me out of the house, away from Alex's office and all his files? I took a slow sip of my tea. I'm not there yet, but I appreciate the thought. Megan nodded, but I caught the briefest flash of annoyance in her eyes. I changed the subject. Actually, I had a question about your work. You were doing some marketing consulting for Alex's company, right? Through your firm? For a while, she said, stirring her macchiato, the spoon tinkling against the glass. But I dissolved the business last year. Too much paperwork for too little profit, you know? What did your consulting involve exactly? Her answer was immediate and slick, as if memorized. High level brand strategy, primarily. I managed social media campaigns, liaised with marketing vendors, and helped streamline their digital outreach to secure better market positioning. Did you ever have direct access to the company's internal servers? I asked. Some for analytics. Why? Her tone was still light, but a new watchfulness entered her eyes. I kept my own voice casual. I'm just trying to organize Alex's digital records. I've been sorting through his cloud drive, trying to get a handle on everything. The sheer volume of files, contracts, invoices, project proposals. It's overwhelming. Megan's hand, which had been stirring her drink, stopped. Her posture stiffened almost imperceptibly. You're going through his company files? Yes, old client agreements, payment authorizations, billing histories. Alex saved everything. What have you found? She asked. I gave a slight shrug. A lot of financial data that's hard to follow without the proper context. Megan put her spoon down and leaned forward, her expression a mask of pure concern. If you need help, I could come over. I know how Innovate AI is structured. I could help you make sense of it all. That's kind of you. No, Chloe, I'm serious, she insisted, her voice dripping with sincerity. Some of those financial reports can look strange if you don't know the full story behind the projects. I would hate for you to misunderstand something and get upset over nothing. There it was. Asterisk, misunderstand, asterisk. She was worried I would correctly interpret her embezzlement. I appreciate that, I said. I'll let you know. I shifted gears, my voice deliberately light. Oh, speaking of the house, we had the weirdest thing happen. The security system in the office went down last week. Megan's eyes darted to mine for a split second. A micro expression. The security system. That sounds scary. It wasn't a big deal. The tech who came out said the backup battery had been disconnected. He thought the wiring might have been deliberately tampered with. Oh, she lifted her glass, taking a long drink. It's an old house. The wiring is probably just faulty. Maybe, I agreed. But the really strange part was that the rug in front of Alex's big safe was all scuffed up, like someone had tried to move it recently. Megan carefully placed her glass back on the saucer, her movements precise. Did you move it? No, I haven't been in his office much at all. Her smile seemed pasted on. Maybe Alex moved it before he. The tech checked the system logs. The alarm was manually disabled for 2 hours about a month ago. He was very clear about the date. How odd. I watched her absorb this, saw the flicker of panic she quickly suppressed. Did the security guy notice anything else? She asked. He mentioned some fresh scratches around the safe's combination dial, like someone had tried to force it open with a tool. Megan's face became very still. That's awful. Do you think you had a break in? I don't know. None of the doors or windows were forced, but I'm thinking of upgrading the security with more cameras just in case. That's a fantastic idea, she said, a little too quickly. You absolutely should. David could even help you install them. He's really good with all that smart home tech. I'll keep that in mind. The topic shifted after that. Megan inquired about Thanksgiving, asked if my cousin and I were getting along better, and wondered how my job was going. The conversation drifted to a close over the next 20 minutes. There was no confession, no dramatic scene. But I had my answer, the way her hand froze when I mentioned the company files, the polished, vague summary of her so called consulting, the immediate offer to come help me to manage what I saw and what I understood, the warning not to misunderstand, and then the flicker of fear about the security system, the rigid posture when I mentioned the safe, the far too eager offer to help set up new cameras, to see exactly what I was monitoring. She knew what was in that safe. She was the one who had tried to open it. She was the one who had been in my house. At 3:10 in the afternoon, we were done. I insisted on covering the bill. Megan made a show of protesting, but I dismissed it. We stepped out into the crisp autumn air. The sky was a brilliant, cloudless blue. Megan hugged me goodbye, her arms tight around my shoulders. It felt like being held by a stranger. Don't be a stranger, okay? She said, her voice warm. I miss having my sister. I miss you too, I lied, the words tasting like poison. We turned in opposite directions in the parking lot. I slipped into my car, shut the door, and just sat there, my hands gripping the steering wheel. Megan was absolutely involved. Every part of that conversation screamed it. Her offer to interpret the files, her reaction to the disabled alarm, her intense interest in new security cameras. She was trying to get ahead of my investigation, to control the narrative. She had been in my home, she had tried to crack Alex's safe, and now she knew that I was getting close to discovering why. I started the engine and drove home, my thoughts racing. I had just pulled into the driveway when my phone chimed with an email notification. It was from an anonymous encrypted address, just a single line of text. Some secrets are better left buried. Stop looking through your husband's files. I stared at the screen, my heart hammering against my ribs. I immediately forwarded the email to my friend Sarah. I sent a text right after. Anonymous threat. Got this right after my meeting with Megan. Her reply was instant. From who? Encrypted address, but the timing is insane. Sarah, she's scared. I'm saving a copy of this, Sarah texted back. That's evidence. Don't delete it. Already done. I sat in my car, staring at the front door of my house. Someone had been inside. Someone had tampered with my security, and now they were threatening me. Tomorrow morning, I was calling that investigator, Arthur Jones, the one Alex was supposed to meet. This had to stop. That morning, I stood before a sleek glass tower on Boston's waterfront, the polished sign reading Sterling Financial Investigations. Taking a steadying breath, I entered. The receptionist, a young man with a sharp suit and a kind smile, looked up. Miss Hayes, Mr. Sterling is ready for you. He led me through a quiet, minimalist hall with abstract art on the walls into a glass-walled conference room with a stunning view of the harbor. Arthur Sterling entered moments later. He was in his late 40s, with dark hair, a tailored navy suit, and an alert, intelligent gaze. He shook my hand firmly. Miss Hayes, I'm so sorry about your husband, Liam. I nodded. He had a meeting scheduled with you. He did, Sterling confirmed, his tone serious. He told my assistant he had proof of significant asset misappropriation and needed our earliest slot. We had him booked for March 5th. He passed on the 3rd. I know. I'm sorry he never made it, Sterling said, gesturing to a chair. On the phone, you said you discovered something. I found what he wanted to show you. I opened my laptop on the conference table. I logged into the secure digital vault, and the contents populated the large screen. Liam's final message appeared first. Sterling read it silently, his expression unreadable. Then came the audio files and the spreadsheets detailing transfers to shell corporations $180,000 to Seaport Ventures, 85,000 to Charles River Group. I explained that the vault was a dead man's switch. I got the access notification 30 days after Liam's death. Sterling was methodical, taking notes on a tablet. His focus was intense. After reviewing the initial files, he looked at me. Your husband was meticulous. He documented everything, including the financial fraud. Sterling cross-referenced the corporate filings on his own screen. $472,000 Seaport Ventures registered to Sophie Dubois. Your sister's name. My sister, yes, it's a front. No assets, no history, just a registered agent. These payments were for consulting she never provided. Liam gave her an ultimatum to pay it back. She refused. Then she started the affair to manipulate him. Sterling tapped the screen. The audio files are damning. Do you know if they're original recordings? They are. It's all there, everything he saved. Sterling stippled his fingers. Here is your position. You have powerful evidence. The transfers prove the payments. The recordings prove his intent to accuse her of fraud. But Sophie will claim it was a gift, that he was her lover, and this is a bitter lie from a grieving widow. Without context, it's her word against a recording from a man who can no longer testify. A knot formed in my stomach. Sterling's tone was professional, direct. For a civil case, this is strong. For criminal fraud, we need more. The recordings mention fabricated invoices and emails. Those are your kill shot. Without them, she'll say Liam was confused, that the money was for services rendered off the books. Family money disputes get ugly. You need an undeniable link. So if the files aren't enough, I have nothing? You have a difficult fight. She could win. A heavy silence filled the room. Sterling watched me. How is your relationship with your sister? I thought it was everything. I thought we were close. This will be the worst fight of your life. Money and betrayal are a destructive mix. Are you ready? I thought of Sophie's fake sympathy, her hands on my pregnant belly at the funeral, knowing she was sleeping with my husband and stealing from us. She didn't just take our money, she shattered our lives. I'm ready. Sterling gave a slow nod. We can't prove her actions medically caused Liam's heart attack, but if those files contain what he claimed, we can prove wire fraud and embezzlement, serious felonies, prison time. How much? Potentially 5 to 7 years. The number was staggering. I showed Sterling a text Sophie had sent me that morning. She sent this after I asked about a company expense. Sterling read the veiled threat, his expression hardening. From her? I can't prove it, but the timing is everything. He handed my phone back. Then we are on a timer. She suspects you know something. She will start covering her tracks. What's my next move? Find the rest of those files. Liam said the vault contained everything. A password, for a deeper layer maybe. A clue only you would know. I thought for a moment. When I get in, I'll call you immediately. We will act then. Good, Sterling said, his eyes serious. And one more thing. Do not speak to her. Do not let on that you know anything. Surprise is our only real advantage. I understand. He stood, offering his hand. I will prepare the preliminary case file, but I cannot act until we have that final piece of evidence. It all hinges on that. We shook hands, his grip firm. Thank you, Mr. Sterling. Call me Arthur. And Miss Hayes, your husband did the heavy lifting. He built the case against her. Our job is just to see it through. I sat in the parking garage staring at my laptop. Arthur's words replayed in my head. A clue only you would know. There was only one secret Liam and I shared completely. The one thing we kept just for us. The name for our baby, the one we hadn't told a soul. Not my parents, not even Sophie. I closed my eyes. Nightingale. That afternoon, I laid out everything from Liam's home office desk. If Liam's note said the vault held everything, then the answer had to be there. I sorted through the items, the financial statements I had already seen, the access codes to the first layer of the vault, the printed copy of his final letter to me. I took the ornate wooden box where he kept important documents and turned it upside down. Nothing. I inspected the interior again. Mahogany walls, a dark velvet lining glued down flush. I pressed my fingers along the bottom, and I felt it. A slight give in the velvet, one corner not perfectly flat. I worked a fingernail under the fabric, peeling it back gently. Taped to the wood underneath was a small silver flash drive. Attached to it was a simple white tag with one word handwritten in Liam's script, Nightingale. My heart hammered against my ribs. A second level of evidence. He must have kept a physical backup, something separate from the cloud. Why hadn't he told me? And then I understood. A failsafe. If Sophie somehow got into their shared network, their home computers, he needed a copy that was completely offline. Something she could never find. A physical drive made perfect sense. I called my friend Clara immediately. I found it, a flash drive. What? Where? Hidden in his desk box. The password has to be Nightingale. I'm on my way. We're doing this together. It's Saturday. What if it's, I don't know. It's a flash drive, Maya, not a time bomb. Plug it in. I'm bringing coffee. 20 minutes later, Clara arrived, looking worried but determined. She handed me a warm cup. You look like you haven't slept in a week. I haven't. I understand. Let's see what the bastard left behind. We sat at my kitchen island, the city lights of Boston twinkling outside. It was a stark contrast to the ugliness on my laptop screen. I plugged in the drive. A single folder appeared, locked with a password. I typed Nightingale. The folder opened. It contained scanned documents, invoices Sophie had forged, emails she had faked between Liam and contractors, and a detailed accounting ledger showing exactly where every stolen dollar went. It was all there. Anonymity was gone. This was a detailed map of her crime. I scrolled through the files, my blood running cold. Clara put a hand on my shoulder. Oh, Maya, I'm so sorry. The records went back 3 full years. 3 years of lies. I took a shaky breath. When did he compile all this? I checked the file properties. Last modified March 2nd, the day before he died. Liam knew. He had been preparing for this final confrontation. He knew, I whispered. He knew what she was. The final email in the folder was a draft, addressed to Arthur Sterling. The proof is all here, it read. I'm ready to proceed. It was unmistakable. I entered the code 4792 hash, and the gate slid open with a loud groan. Paved lanes ran between identical buildings. The only sounds were the highway's murmur and a lone car on Ashford Road. We drove to the back of the complex. Row E, Unit 186. Maya and I faced the orange door. A simple padlock secured the latch. The key slid in smoothly. My hands trembled as I turned it. Maya placed a hand on my arm. We'll face whatever is in there, Claire, together. I just nodded, my throat too tight for words. I twisted the key. The lock clicked open. I lifted the cold metal handle and the door rattled upwards, the sound echoing through the silent facility. A bit of grease would help. Fluorescent lights inside hummed to life. The unit was small, 5 feet by 10, and nearly bare. 4 bankers' boxes sat in a neat stack against the far wall. They were taped shut, and each was labeled in Liam's sharp, familiar handwriting. Box 1 read, Sterling Solutions Fake Billing. Box 2, Digital Forensics IP Traces. Box 3, Accounting Timeline. Box 4, Claire, read first. Maya let out a soft breath beside me. My God, he saved everything. Box 4 says to read it first, so that's what we'll do. We carried the box out to the car. It felt surprisingly light. I left the other 3 for later. I had to know what Liam's instructions were. I secured the unit's lock, checking it twice. Before we headed back to the front, we sat in my car as a light Chicago rain began to fall, speckling the windshield. I used my house key to slice the tape on box 4. The key cut through the tape with ease. I lifted the cardboard flaps. Inside were three things: Liam's leather moleskin notebook, its black cover worn soft at the corners. I knew it instantly. It was a gift from me on our third anniversary. A plastic bag held a small hard drive labeled in his hand: Archive. Same password. And a manila folder marked Forgeries Claire's signature. Maya gestured to the notebook. That's his private journal. He wanted me to see this before I saw any of the other proof. I opened it to the first page, my hands unsteady. Liam's writing filled the page. The date was March 15th, 2019. The entry began: Saw something unusual today. An invoice from Sterling Solutions for $8,200. I asked Jessica what it was for. Her explanation was incredibly vague. I'm making a note to follow up on this. March of 2019. He had suspicions nearly 3 years before he died. I met Maya's eyes, my chest tight. He knew almost from the very start. We sat in the car in that quiet lot, the rain now a steady drumming on the roof, and I read Liam's journal from the beginning. March 15th, 2019. Saw something odd today. Invoice from Sterling Solutions, $8,200 for project consulting. I asked Jessica for the details. She mentioned coordinating our vendors, getting better rates. It sounds plausible, but I can't recall her being at those sites. I decided to track it. June 3rd, 2019. 3 more invoices have come in. The total is now $31,400 since January. I pressed Jessica for specifics. Which projects, which vendors, our supposed savings. She got angry, accused me of micromanaging, promised a report she never sent. September 12th, 2019. I searched the Illinois Business Registry. Sterling Solutions LLC was created in December of 2017. The sole owner is Jessica Sterling. No listed employees. A P.O. box in Evanston. This firm isn't real. She's billing us for phantom work. I paused my reading. Maya spoke softly. September 2019. That's when he was sure. Over 2 years before the accident. I turned the page with a shaking hand. December 2019. Pulled 3 years of financials, $127,000 paid to Sterling Solutions since January of 2018. I called 2 of the contractors Jessica supposedly managed. Neither of them has ever heard of her or her company. The services were never rendered. This is embezzlement. March 2020, the setup. Jessica came to my office, closed the door, and said she found something disturbing. She had printouts of emails, supposedly from Claire's account, discussing diverting company funds. She claimed she'd been watching it and found them. She said she hated to believe it, but the proof was right there. I examined the emails. It was Claire's name, her signature, but I know my wife. She would never do this. As soon as Jessica left, I checked the server logs. The emails originated from IP 192.168.1.147. That's Jessica's home network. I know because I helped her brother set it up. Claire's work IP is entirely different. Jessica forged those messages. She tried to make me think Claire was the one stealing. She's not just a thief. She's trying to frame my pregnant wife for her own crimes. I felt sick. I couldn't read anymore. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. Maya's voice was sharp with rage. She tried to turn him against you. My own voice was a whisper, and Liam never said a thing. He never doubted me. He just investigated her quietly. I wiped at my tears and made myself continue. June 2020, I found 3 vendor contracts from the last 2 years. Claire's signature is on each one, approving them. But Claire never signed these. I asked her about the vendors yesterday casually. She'd never heard of them. I compared the signatures, their digital copies, pasted onto the documents. Jessica forged Claire's signature. September 18th, 2020. I confronted Jessica today. In my car, in a quiet parking garage, I showed her everything. She fell apart, crying. She admitted a huge debt problem, showed me statements. $180,000 in the red. She said she panicked. begged me not to tell Claire, swore it would destroy our family. I gave her 6 months, pay it all back by March 2021, get help. If she does, I won't go to the police. Why did I give her that chance? Because Claire loves her sister, and because I can't bear to break her heart again. I read the next entry to myself first. My throat seized. September 25th, 2020, I still haven't told Claire. She's been so happy, so radiant with the pregnancy. Our firm just landed 2 new high-rise projects. She's finally laughing again, truly laughing, for the first time since we lost Chloe. How can I tell her that her own sister has been robbing her blind and trying to ruin her? How can I destroy that joy? If Jessica pays it back, Claire never needs to know. She gets to keep her sister and her happiness. I know I'm a coward, but I can't break her again, not after Chloe. I closed my eyes as tears streamed down my cheeks. Maya grabbed my hand, her grip firm. He was trying to protect you, she whispered. He carried this alone because I was happy, because he didn't want to hurt me. I forced my eyes open and read through the blur. November 12th, 2020. Claire asked me yesterday if I was okay, said I seemed distant. I lied, told her it was work stress. But she is glowing. Planning the nursery, talking about hiring more staff. If I tell her now, all of that stops. She'll be devastated. I can carry this for a few more months. January 15th, 2021. Jessica has not repaid a cent. Just more lies. She's still faking records. I was a fool to wait. I'm meeting our lawyer Warren on March 1st. I will tell Claire on February 28th. I'm done protecting Jessica. February 28th, 2021. The final entry. The writing was unsteady. Lawyer meeting at 9 a.m. tomorrow. This finally ends. Claire, if you're reading this, I'm sorry. Sorry I didn't tell you sooner. The password is Chloe 2011. Our daughter we lost. I never forgot her. It's all on the drive. Use it. Finish this for us. I love you. L. I shut the journal. We were in my kitchen now. I must have driven home while reading, with Maya following me. I had no memory of the trip, Maya said gently. Chloe 2011. That's the password. Our daughter. We lost her at 18 weeks in 2011. We named her but told no one but our parents, and they're gone now. I took out the hard drive. My hands were steady, full of a new resolve. Let's open it. I put my laptop on the table and plugged in the drive. A password box appeared. I typed slowly CHLOE 2011. I squeezed my eyes shut and hit enter. The screen spun. Then a folder appeared. Evidence J. Sterling fraud, 237 files sorted into folders, 01 underscore invoices, 02 underscore emails, 03 underscore financial underscore exports, 04 underscore forgeries, and so on. Each folder contained a summary file explaining the contents in Liam's clear, concise style. He was an architect, meticulous in all things, even in building a case against my sister. Maya breathed out. He built a complete prosecution file. I clicked on 01 invoices. 52 PDF files appeared. I opened one at random. Invoice underscore sterling underscore January underscore 20-19.pdf. It looked professional with a sleek logo Jessica must have designed. Invoice number SS 2019-001. Bill to Miller and Hayes Architects. Services rendered. Project consulting fees. Amount due $8,200. Authorized signature Jessica Sterling. I right-clicked and checked the properties. The metadata was a final betrayal. Author Jessica Sterling. Computer name Jessica Desktop. Date created January 15th, 2019. All the payment dates matched the invoice dates. Maya watched from over my shoulder. She used her own laptop for this. She didn't even try to hide the file properties. She assumed no one would ever check. I located Leo's audit file, quote, vendor underscore payments underscore analysis dot kesks, quote, comma, and opened it. A meticulous spreadsheet appeared. Every payment was logged with file creation details. date, author, computer name, and the dollar amount. All 52 invoices shared a digital fingerprint created by the same author on the same machine hours before submission. I clicked on the communications folder. Inside were 89 emails organized by month. They were conversations between Maya and her shell corporation. I opened one from October 2021 from Apex Strategic Solutions. The message read, as discussed, November services are complete. We audited 4 project sites, negotiated with 2 new suppliers, and finalized equipment leases. Invoices attached. The total due is $12,500. It appeared perfectly normal, professional, detailed, and an invoice was attached. But Leo's forensic subfolder contained a report. Quote, email underscore traffic underscore analysis dot pdf. My hands trembled as I opened it. The file was dense with technical data, IP logs, and server records. The finding was damning. Every vendor email originated from IP address 192.168.1.201. The same IP for all 89 messages. That was Maya's home office IP address. Leo noted it when he helped set up her network. The vendor email accounts were created on the same days as the invoices they were tied to. She was literally sending invoices to herself. Maya just shook her head. She was sloppy. One IP for the entire charade. She gambled that no one would dig this deep. I quickly went through the next few folders, my pulse quickening. Folder 3 held the accounting records, complete exports showing the money trail, from the company's main account to Apex Strategic Solutions, then to Maya's offshore bank account, ending in 5821. Each wire cleared within 48 hours of an invoice payment. A pattern of immediate cash withdrawals followed every deposit. Leo's scanned handwritten notes were attached. He wrote, classic embezzlement scheme layered to launder the funds. Folder 4 was labeled Forgeries, containing 14 files with side-by-side images. On the left was my authentic signature from our 2017 incorporation papers, scanned at high resolution. On the right were forged signatures from various 2020 project approvals. The changes were minor, but there, a slight hesitation in the pen stroke, inconsistent spacing. A forensic report was attached. The expert, a certified examiner from Chicago, concluded with 87% certainty that the signatures were forged. The report noted clear signs of digital tracing and duplication. I looked at my own name, forged on the screen. It felt like a profound violation. She had stolen a piece of my identity to hide her theft. Folder 5 contained bank records. It was Maya's personal account statements. A note from Leo explained he found a USB drive in the conference room last April. She must have left it by mistake. He copied its contents. They were statements from a high-end brokerage firm. Month after month showed huge losses in high-risk stock options. The final tally across 3 years was a staggering $212,000 in losses. The motive was right there in black and white. Folder 6 held the technical data, server logs, and domain registration receipts. Every single fake vendor email came from Maya's home network. She had registered the shell company's domain name using her personal credit card back in 2019. All emails to that domain were forwarded to her private account. The last folder, number 7, was labeled Testimony. It held a single video file. Leo underscore statement underscore feb underscore 20 underscore 2022.mov. My cursor hovered over it. Maya asked softly, should I give you some space? No, I whispered, please stay. I double-clicked the file. Leo's face filled the screen. He was in his study at home. I could see his favorite bookshelf behind him. The date stamp read, February 20th, 2022, 8 days before the accident. I hit play. Leo's voice, steady and familiar, filled the silence. My name is Leo Torres. Today is February 20th. I'm recording this for insurance. Maya Vance has embezzled $412,000 from our firm using a shell company. I have all the proof on this drive. She also tried to implicate my wife, Clara, by forging her signature on 14 documents to make it look like Clara approved the payments. The forensic analysis proves the forgeries originated from Maya's computer. I confronted her last September. She admitted she had a severe trading addiction. I gave her 6 months to return the money and get help. She hasn't paid back anything. She's forged more documents since. I didn't go to the authorities because Clara views her as a sister. I tried to resolve this quietly to give Maya a chance. I was wrong. She deserves no protection. I have a meeting with our lawyer on March 1st. If anything happens to me, Clara, if you're seeing this, use this. Finish it. The video went black. The only sound was the hum of the refrigerator. My phone buzzed on the counter, a text from a blocked number. I know you have the drive. We need to talk. Don't be reckless. M? Maya saw it over my shoulder. She's panicking, she said. I took a screenshot. More evidence. What's next? She asked. I'm calling the lawyer. The doorbell chimed at 3:17 that Sunday. My phone showed the camera feed. It was Maya holding 2 coffee cups. Her white sedan was parked on the street. She wore a stylish trench coat with expensive sunglasses perched on her head. That designer handbag she loved was slung over her arm. The larger cup was probably her usual oat milk latte. The smaller one was likely a decaf cappuccino, my pregnancy-safe choice. She smiled right at the camera, raising the cups in a gesture of peace, then pressed the bell again. I saved the video clip, took a deep breath, and opened the door. Clara, her voice was warm. Hope I'm not intruding. I was nearby and thought I'd see how you are. You've been so distant since we last spoke, and I was getting worried. She walked past me, setting the drinks down on the console table, and pulling me into a hug that smelled of perfume and coffee. I hugged her back, my expression carefully neutral as I shut the door. I'm okay, I said, accepting the decaf she handed me. Just busy. You know how it is before the baby comes, getting everything in order. Of course. She followed me to the living room and sat on the couch. That's actually what I wanted to discuss. I've been thinking about you, about what a hard year it's been. Losing Leo, managing the firm, dealing with his unresolved projects. I sat in the armchair opposite her and sipped my coffee. It was lukewarm. Clara, can I be totally honest? She leaned in, her eyes wide with fabricated concern. I'm worried. I feel like you're carrying something you're not sharing. And I think Leo left things more complicated than you know. What do you mean by that? She paused, looking down at her cup for a moment. This is difficult, but you deserve to know. Leo wasn't happy near the end. Not with the firm, he loved that, but with his life, with the marriage. My stomach twisted into a knot, but I kept my face placid. Where is this coming from, Maya? He talked to me. We were so close, you know. I was with you guys from the start. He trusted me. She reached out and put her hand on mine. He said he felt trapped. He was talking about separating, maybe even a divorce. I gently pulled my hand away and took another drink to mask my rage. Leo never said a word about that to me. Of course not, she said, her tone dripping with pity. He didn't want to hurt you. But Clara, he was falling apart. He was at the office day and night. I found him there one Saturday, 2 weeks before he died, and he looked like a ghost. He told me he was creating a new plan, a way to restructure things, maybe even to push you out. Push me out, I said, letting a note of shock enter my voice. That's not Leo's way, I know, she agrees, her head bobbing. I thought the same thing, but he insisted. He said it was to secure the firm's future, that there were complications he couldn't get into yet. He wanted me to stay quiet until he sorted it out. She studies my face, looking for a crack, some sign I might buy her story. I offer none. So why bring this to me now? I ask flatly. Because I don't want you caught off guard. She settles back. I'm not sure what Leo was planning, but he kept meticulous records. If you find any of his old ledgers or project files, I need you to bring them to me before you talk to anyone else. What he recorded might be misleading, taken out of context. There it is, the real play. I haven't seen a thing. I lie smoothly. I sorted his study months ago. Just sketches, old contracts, personal papers. Nothing odd. What makes you think there's something to find? Her expression tightens for a bare second before relaxing. I just know how detailed Leo was. So if you stumble on old financial data, supplier contracts, anything like that, call me first. That's all. Why would supplier contracts be an issue? She waves her hand. Oh, Leo was always worried about kickbacks. He would personally cross check every materials invoice against our budgets. It was maddening. He'd have me reapprove things I'd already cleared. It was just his nature. I nod, feigning understanding. I see. He did complain about some costs a while ago. Something with international sourcing fees. Her hand stops midair, a teacup hovering. Sourcing fees? Yes, I keep my voice light. He mentioned some payments, maybe $500,000 over a few years, that looked strange. He was going to have the accountant pull the records, but then he was gone. Isabella's face drains of color. She lowers the cup. I have no memory of that. Are you certain? Quite. I hold her gaze. Does that sound familiar? No. She rises suddenly, adjusting her blazer. No, it must have been Leo. Overthinking things as usual. I have to run. A meeting at 5. I walk her to the door. She stops in the doorway and pulls me into a stiff, urgent hug. Chloe, please listen, she whispers. For Leo's memory, for the company you two started, don't go through his old records alone. You don't know the whole story. It could be painful. I'm trying to shield you. From what? She steps away, a flash of fear in her eyes before a practiced smile covers it. From heartbreak. She turns, gets into her Mercedes, and disappears down the street. I lock the door, my heart pounding. I take out my phone and dial Marcus Thorne. He picks up right away. Marcus, I access the drive, I say softly. I have it all. The ledger, the recordings, the doctored invoices, everything. And Isabella just left my house. She suspects something. We have to act. A bit of silence. Can you be at my office tomorrow at 9 a.m.? Bring the login, the journal, all of it. We'll file with the DA by Monday. I'll be there. Excellent. And Chloe, do not speak with Isabella again. Understood? I won't. I end the call and save the security camera footage of her visit. At 9 tomorrow, I'll hand Marcus Thorne evidence worth $530,000, and my husband's cousin is about to lose everything. The buzzer rings at 10:30 on Monday morning, hours before my meeting with Marcus. Through the camera, I see a courier with a flat cardboard mailer needing a signature. I buzz him in, sign the tablet, and take the envelope. The return address is from a Boston law firm I don't recognize. I shut the door, take photos of the sealed envelope, and slit it open. Inside are 3 pages on thick ivory letterhead. At the top, a law firm's crest is embossed in gold. I lean against the counter and begin to read. The title is in bold, Demand for Immediate Return of Company Assets. My name and address are listed below, followed by dense blocks of text. This firm represents Miss Isabella Rossi concerning Valenti and Rossi Designs. We understand you possess proprietary company materials, including client proposals and financial data, which were taken from the firm without permission. These assets are company property per the partnership agreement of May 2017. We demand the return of all financial documents from 2018 onward, all sourcing contracts, and any correspondence related to firm vendors. Failure to comply in 14 days will lead to civil action for breach of contract, with damages sought in excess of $500,000. Any discussion of internal company affairs with outside parties will be pursued as slander. Kindly acknowledge this letter and arrange for the return of all materials. The signature is a flourish of ink, followed by a state bar number. The letter is dated last Friday, 2 days before Isabella arrived at my door, with coffee and a fabricated story. It all falls into place. She got a lawyer, had them send this threat, and when that didn't work, she came here herself to try and manipulate me. She's trying to paint me as a grieving, unstable widow stealing from the company. She's moving quickly. I photograph each page and text them to Marcus with a simple message. Received this from Isabella's lawyer, bringing it with me. His response is instant, perfect. Do not reply to them. See you at 1. At 1 p.m., I arrive at his office with everything: the laptop with the cloud drive open, Leo's journal, the stack of bank records, and the lawyer's 3-page letter in a protective sleeve. Marcus reads the letter first, a small smile playing on his lips. When he's done, he places it on the desk. This is desperation. It's beautiful. They're trying to sue you for having proof of your husband's own files. It's absurd. He gestures to the letter. You're his heir and the executor of his estate. You are legally entitled to his records, personal or professional. And more to the point, evidence of a crime is not a protected asset. You can't steal proof of a felony. You can't slander someone by telling the truth. This letter is pure intimidation. He's betting you'll get scared and drop it. What's our next move? We ignore it. We let them worry. He pulls a tablet over, and I log into the drive. Let's review what your husband found. For the next hour, Marcus goes through the files, listens to the audio clips, and cross-references the fake invoices with the secret ledger Leo kept. He pauses one recording, making a note on a yellow pad. Your husband was brilliant. He knew she'd try to erase everything. She would have, I whisper. Marcus closes the audio file. This is an open and shut case. We have multiple felonies here: embezzlement, wire fraud, identity theft for forging Leo's signature on purchase orders, and money laundering through a shell corporation. The words hit me, heavy and final. How much time will she face? He looks at me directly. With this evidence, realistically, 10 to 15 years. Plus restitution, she's looking at probation. That's the best case scenario. If a jury finds her guilty on every charge, it could be 3 to 10 years. Isabel's entire life, just gone. I expected to feel some satisfaction, but all I feel is a deep, bone-weary sadness. She was my sister before she was a con artist. Mr. Davies must see the conflict on my face. He shuts his laptop, steeples his fingers, and looks at me. Clara, there's something else. He opens a sleek black portfolio and slides a document across the polished table. A title deed from the Cook County Clerk's office. Isabel owns her townhome with Mark, the one over in Lincoln Park. That's in both their names, a standard joint tenancy. But this is another property. He taps the deed. A shell corporation, IB Art Holdings, was formed on May 3rd, 2023. May, just 2 weeks after Liam passed away. IB Art Holdings owns a penthouse condo on the Gold Coast. Unit 27B, purchased July 10th for $1.2 million, paid in cash installments. He lets the words hang in the air. Over $1 million in cash real estate while you were planning your husband's funeral. I can't seem to draw a full breath. She was buying a secret penthouse. Yes, and that's not even the worst of it. She did it with our own industry's money, a luxury residence, bought with funds embezzled from your own art gallery. He brings up pictures on his laptop, a stunning condo with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a wraparound terrace. She named herself the sole agent for the corporation, putting her own signature on the title. She handed us a perfect map of her crime. Can we get it back? Without a doubt. Illinois law is very clear about asset forfeiture in cases of fraud. We will add it to the settlement, the $2.3 million she stole, plus her buyout from the gallery, plus the immediate transfer of the penthouse to you. She will walk away with absolutely nothing. The firm, the cash, and those Bayside condos she purchased with my husband's money, it all comes back to you. I stared at the files. 2 luxury properties with tenants funding the new life she built after he died. When do we move on her? I asked my lawyer. Tomorrow morning, he confirmed. We'll send the offer by courier to both Chloe and her new partner, Arthur. It will include a draft of a criminal complaint for the Boston DA, detailing the fraud and embezzlement. But we hold that back. If she agrees to our terms within 72 hours, we don't file. If she refuses, we let the prosecutor take over immediately. And if she settles, she dissolves her partnership, signs over both properties, pays back every cent, and agrees to never contact you or the family again. In return, we drop the criminal complaint. She'll agree. It would be crazy not to. Her only other option is a prison cell. I shut my eyes, picturing Isabel reading that letter, feeling her world of calculated deceit shatter. I want to feel a sense of triumph, but mostly it's just an empty ache. Send them, I whisper. Mr. Davies nods, closing the portfolio. They'll be delivered tomorrow. She will have until Friday to decide. I pack my things, the tablet, Liam's journal, the lockbox with his research, and step out into the brisk Chicago wind. My phone buzzes as I get to my car. An unfamiliar local number flashes on the screen. I nearly ignore it, but then something makes me answer. Mrs. Davenport, a man's voice tight with anxiety. This is Mark Jensen, Isabel's husband. I have to speak with you about Izzy, about what she's been up to. I think she's done this to me too. Wednesday morning, December 20th. I'm at my kitchen island with my phone and a mug of herbal tea, and I return Mark Jensen's call. He picks up instantly. Mark, you said you were a victim. What did Isabel do? His voice is strained. About a month ago, I found some mail tucked away in her car. An application for a platinum credit card, $100,000 limit, under my name. My signature was on it. But you never signed it. I never even saw it. I compared the signature to my driver's license, our mortgage papers. It was a damn good copy. Incredibly good, but it wasn't mine. The angle of the cross on the T, the loop of the J. She forged my name. I closed my eyes. Mark, I am so sorry I filed for divorce this morning. Then your lawyer's office called about a penthouse on the Gold Coast. I knew nothing about it. She never mentioned it ever. She hid it inside a corporation. Illinois is a marital property state. That penthouse is half yours. My point exactly. But I had no idea it even existed until a paralegal from Mr. Davis's office left a message about an impending asset seizure. He lets out a slow, shaky breath. Mrs. Davenport, Clara, I'm calling to tell you I will testify. In court, at a deposition, wherever you need me. She forged my signature. She lied to me for years, and I was too stupid to question it. Thank you, Mark. I should have noticed the signs. The constant talk of gallery trips. The designer clothes she said were gifts from clients. The way she'd fly off the handle if I ever asked about our finances. I wanted to trust her. Now I'm done trusting. I conference Mr. Davies into the call. His voice is calm, authoritative. Mr. Jensen, can you come to my office today? Please bring the forged credit card application and any other financial statements you feel are relevant. Yes, 11:15. Excellent. We'll see you then. At 11:15, Mark Jensen walks into the conference room holding a leather folio, looking completely hollowed out. He's in his late 30s, well dressed but disheveled, in a wrinkled dress shirt and slacks. A finance guy, maybe, or an architect. Someone used to a world of order. He places the folio on the table and slides the documents over to Mr. Davies. A credit card application from last October, with Mark's forged signature at the bottom. Mr. Davies studies it, then pulls up an image of Mark's real signature from a document he provided. He nods grimly. It's the same method she used on Liam's documents. She scanned a real signature, then digitally altered it and pasted it onto the application. The pixelation is almost invisible. A credit card company wouldn't spot it, but a forensics lab would. Instantly. She needed the credit line, $100,000. She probably told the bank it was for home renovations. The bills went to a P.O. box you didn't know about, and she used it to furnish that penthouse. Mark's hands clench into fists. If this goes to court, will I need to testify? Yes. But for now, can you be available for a settlement conference? Possibly this Friday. I'll be there. She needs to understand what she did. To you, to me, to Liam. After Mark leaves, Mr. Davies looks at me. This completely shatters her defense. It proves this was a calculated pattern. Forgery wasn't a one off mistake, it's her standard operating procedure. I just nod, feeling numb. My sister didn't just steal from our family, she systematically ruined the lives of everyone who loved her. That night at 7:15, my doorbell chimes. The security camera shows my mother, Helen, on the doorstep, wearing the same black coat from Liam's funeral 10 months ago. Her hands are shaking as she rings the bell again. I let her in. Mom, can I talk to you? We end up at the kitchen table, the silent arena for every family crisis. I pour her a glass of water she won't touch. She keeps her coat on. Isabel called me. She was hysterical. She said you've hired some shark of a lawyer, that you're accusing her of terrible things, that you're trying to ruin her life. Did she tell you what she actually did? She said it was a business dispute, that Liam was disorganized, that her consulting fees were approved. That's her version. Would you like to hear the truth? Helen just waits, her lips a thin line. I inhale deeply. She stole $2.3 million over 3 years. Liam kept a perfect record: fake art acquisition reports, forged emails, transfers to a shell company. She created a fake art consultancy, sent herself fraudulent invoices, and funneled our money to her secret account. Then she used it to buy a penthouse. My mother slowly processes this. I press on. But the money isn't the worst part. She forged Liam's signature over a dozen times. She created a false paper trail to make it look like he was approving payments to a fraudulent seller. If Liam hadn't saved all the proof, I would be the one under investigation right now. She was setting me up to take the fall. No, Izzy would never. She did. Liam discovered it. He built a case and gave her a chance to pay it back. She didn't repay a dime. Instead, she forged more signatures and bought a luxury condo with the stolen cash. My mother's face finally breaks. I gave her money. For years, almost $100,000. She'd call me in tears about car trouble, about needing help with her mortgage. I thought I was helping her. You were funding her lies. I know. A tear traces a path down her wrinkled cheek. She was always my baby, the one who needed more help. You were always so self-sufficient, so capable. Isabel just seemed to need me. She's a compulsive liar, Mom, and a thief. And she was willing to destroy me to protect herself. Helen closes her eyes. My daughter is a criminal and I helped her do it. You didn't make her forge anyone's name. A few months ago, Helen says, her voice barely a whisper, in August. Isabel came over. Mark wasn't with her. She seemed so on edge. She said Liam was being strange, keeping private ledgers. She said she was worried he was hiding assets from you. She told you Liam was the thief, not in so many words, but she planted the seed. She said, should Chloe question Marcus's expenses, send her my way. I'll clear it up. We can't have her worried. She was building her alibi. Any proof I'd find, she'd dismiss as a simple mistake. That's why I phoned you. I was checking on his assets. I thought I was protecting our family, but I was protecting her. A heavy silence filled the room. Finally, my mother's voice, now firm as iron, cut through. Tell me what you need. The unvarnished truth. A declaration about the $40,000 you loaned her and what she said that summer. If this proceeds, you must testify against Simone. She's my niece, and I'm your daughter. Catherine studied her own hands for what felt like an eternity. When she looked up, her gaze was resolute. She stood by and watched him cheat. She tried to make you believe you were the one going mad. That's not a mistake. That is pure malice. Honey, for years I have made excuses for her. Poor choices. Blame her upbringing, financial troubles. I wrote checks. I never made her face consequences. But helping to tear your marriage apart, that is unforgivable. She reached for my hand. I'll make a statement. I'll be in court. I will do anything required. This could sever your bond with Simone forever. She destroyed that bond when she went after my daughter. I'm choosing what's right. I choose you. We embraced and wept. Soon after Catherine left, my phone buzzed with the name Kent Ashford. I answered on speaker. Mrs. Thorne, my client is prepared to meet this Friday, 10 in the morning. Mr. Davies' office. They are ready to discuss a settlement. I called my lawyer at once. He wants to settle. Excellent. This is precisely the outcome we anticipated. What if he has another trick? Let him try. We have it all. The investigator's report, the transfer records, the surveillance footage, the apartment lease, Liam's statement, and now your mother's testimony. He's cornered with nothing but his own recklessness. On Friday at 10, we will conclude this. Thursday, December 23rd, the day before, Davies' boardroom felt like a strategic command center. Fiona, Mr. Davies, and I were preparing for the next day's meeting like attorneys prepping for a high-stakes trial, with precision and zero room for error. The large table was a sea of organized files. Davies stood at its head, arranging proof into 4 binders labeled in permanent marker. Binder 1, Financial Trail, 35 bogus invoices from a shell corporation with digital proof tracing back to Simone's device, and 36 months of bank records showing wire transfers of over $300,000. Binder 2, Digital Footprint, 74 damning emails originating from Simone's private IP address, along with records showing she created false accounts. Binder 3, Document Analysis, 12 side-by-side comparisons of lease agreements with a forensic expert's report confirming digital manipulation. Binder 4, Corroborating Proof, luxury hotel receipts showing over $150,000 in charges, excerpts from Marcus's own planner, and photos of the secret downtown apartment. Davis's laptop was open, with the video file PI_Thorn_October_2021.mp4 ready to play. 3 minutes and 40 seconds of my husband with Simone. Tomorrow my presentation will be methodical, Davies stated. Tapping the binders. We'll start with the money, then the affair, then the video. Kent will push to negotiate first, but I will insist on presenting our case. Once he sees it's airtight, he'll push for settlement. What if Marcus denies it all? I asked. He will, initially, but Kent is a pragmatist. He'll know this is a losing battle and advise his client to settle to avoid a public trial. Fiona then asked the one question I was too scared to ask. What's the worst that could happen? Davies answered without pause. He refuses the terms. We file for divorce Monday morning. The details leak to the press. He faces a public relations nightmare, and we still pursue his assets in court. He loses everything. Best case, he agrees to our terms tomorrow, pays a $2 million settlement plus legal fees within 90 days, signs over the properties, and agrees to a strict non-disclosure clause. We'll hold the public filing. If he breaches the agreement, we release everything. Davies opened the folder and pushed a document toward me. Your mother was here yesterday. She provided this. I picked it up. 3 typed pages on official letterhead, notarized with Catherine's signature in blue ink. My hands shook as I read. I, Catherine Marie Jensen, being duly sworn, do hereby state that between March 2019 and October 2021, I provided my niece, Simone Gallo, with nearly $40,000 in personal loans for supposed business ventures. I now suspect these funds were used to support an illicit affair and hide her activities. In August 2021, Simone mentioned that Marcus Thorne was stressed and traveling often for work. She implied that if I noticed any unusual behavior, I should speak with her first to avoid upsetting Chloe. I now realize this was a calculated effort to prevent me from looking into her affair with my son-in-law. I am ashamed for enabling her deceit and am ready to testify to these facts under oath. My vision blurred. I put the statement down. She actually went through with it. It's incredibly compelling, Davies said softly. It proves Simone manipulated even her own aunt. A judge would find that abhorrent. The office phone chimed. The receptionist's voice came through the intercom. Mr. Davies, Liam on line 2 regarding tomorrow. Davies hit the speaker button. Mr. Gallo, how can I help? Can I be present at the meeting tomorrow? Liam's voice sounded tight. Davies looked at me. I gave a slight nod. Your statement is powerful, but Kent Ashford will likely object to you being there. Are you ready for that? On what grounds? That you are not a direct party to this divorce settlement, that this is a private matter, and that your presence is meant to unfairly influence the outcome. And your response? That you are a witness to a pattern of deceit by the same individual using similar tactics. It demonstrates her character and modus operandi. It's entirely relevant to our case, which is precisely why Kent will fight it. Will he succeed? Unlikely. Kent will make his objection for the record, but your information is admissible. The real issue is whether Marcus and Simone can stand having you in the same room. Good. I want them to be uncomfortable. They need to understand the ruin they've caused. Davies permitted himself a brief grim smile. Be here at 9:45. Bring the loan documents she had you co-sign. I'll call you in right after we play the video, when tensions are at their peak. I'll be there. After the call ended, he faced us. Tomorrow's agenda, 10 a.m. sharp. Marcus, Simone, and Kent arrive. Kent will try to open with a low ball offer. I will decline. We will review the binders piece by piece, then the surveillance footage, and finally, bring in Liam as our surprise. We'll give them time to confer privately. Then they will either accept our terms or we walk. But what if he's not rational? I asked. Then his lawyer will be. Ken's job is to mitigate damage. When he sees this mountain of evidence, he will tell his client to sign the deal. Fiona looked at me. What do we do tomorrow? Davies replied. You are here for support and to witness the signing. Chloe will remain mostly quiet. I will do the talking. She should only speak if I prompt her or for her final words. What would I even say? Anything you feel is necessary. They tried to break you. You've earned the right to have the final say. That night, sleep wouldn't come. Tomorrow would redefine my life. I went to Marcus's home office, where I first found the hidden bank statements months ago. His desk was neat, everything in its place. I picked up a small digital recorder he used for notes. The last recording was still on it, a memo for Chloe. He knew this day might come. He left a trail for me to find. I'm seeing it through to the end, I murmured into the quiet room. My phone lit up with a text from Fiona. You are ready for this. Marcus is with you in spirit. Then, from Catherine, I am so proud of you. Regardless of tomorrow's outcome, I am so proud. Nothing from Simone. She was likely planning her defense with Kent, perfecting her lies. Friday came. 9:47 in the morning. I stood before Davies's building. Fiona stood with me. The crisp air stung my cheeks. The sign above the entrance read, Davies and Partners, Family Law. Fiona met my gaze. You ready? I thought of Marcus. I thought of years of lies, of a trusted cousin who betrayed me, and of my unborn child. I remembered the hidden statements and his last recorded words. Finish what I started. Yes, I said, let's finish this. We walked through the doors. Okay. We are now at the precipice of the meeting where my entire world was set to implode on Simone. Before we go in, just comment the word finish below. A heads up, the following contains narrative embellishments. If that's not for you, this is your moment to bow out. You're still here? Excellent. Then let's end this. 10:02 a.m. Friday, December 24th, Christmas Eve, inside Davies's conference room. I sat at his right hand with Fiona beside me. An empty chair waited on our side of the table. Opposite us, two vacant chairs. The door swung open. Kent Ashford came in first, a man in his mid-40s, sharp suit, looking like he was walking into an ambush. Behind him was Simone. She saw me and froze. Her eyes were puffy, her makeup a thin veneer over sheer exhaustion. She wore a tailored pantsuit, an attempt at projecting strength, but her hand quivered as she placed her handbag on the table. Chloe, Isabella begins, her voice tight. Can we speak alone before my lawyer, Mr. Sterling, cuts her off? No, everything stays on the record. He gestures to the polished chairs. Please. Her counsel, Miss Davies, opens a leather bound notepad. Isabella just stares at me, searching for the sister she lost. Sterling adjusts his tie. Before we start, we have one more party joining. Isabella frowns. Who? A sharp knock and the door opens. My husband Leo walks in. All the color drains from Isabella's face. Leo, what are you? He won't even look at her. He sits by my side, places his phone face down, and says nothing. You can't. This is a private. Miss Davies stands. Objection. Mr. Sterling, this is a family trust negotiation. Mr. Vance is not a party to this specific claim. Sterling remains seated, unflustered. Mr. Vance is a primary victim of fraud committed by your client, his CFO. Her actions establish a clear pattern of criminal behavior. Pattern evidence is for a courtroom, not a settlement, which is exactly where we're headed. If we don't resolve this, Mr. Vance is filing separate charges for forging his signature on multiple loan applications against company assets. Her presence here demonstrates a habit of defrauding family. Miss Davies leans in, whispering to Isabella. Did you forge his signature? Isabella just stares, her mouth half open. Miss Davies slumps in her chair, defeated. Objection noted. Sterling nods. Shall we? Miss Davies clears her throat, attempting to recover. Mr. Sterling, my client wishes to find a resolution, but we strongly dispute the allegations. The fund transfers were legitimate investment strategies. Stop! Sterling's voice is cold steel. Before you commit to that narrative, let me show you what we have. Our discussion of terms will happen asterisk after asterisk. You've seen the evidence my forensic accountant gathered over the last 6 months. Isabella leans forward. This is insane. Chloe, I'm your sister. I finally speak. You're also the woman sleeping with my husband. Sterling opens a binder. Miss Flores, I advise you to listen. He lays out the first document. Wire transfer, January 18th, $200,000. He lays out another, then another, and another. 24 transfers in total, fanned across the table, each authorized by her, totaling over $4 million, siphoned from your unborn nephew's trust fund. Miss Davies reviews them, her expression grim. Sterling continues. All payable to entities like Flores Future Holdings or Apex Global Ventures. No staff, no websites, just mail drops in Delaware. Isabella's voice is thin. Those were for diversification. Sterling slides a document across the table. Server logs from InnovateX. Your work terminal created every single transfer authorization, often minutes after you researched offshore banking laws. Miss Davies' jaw is tight. Sterling opens his laptop, projecting onto the wall. Here are the PDF properties for the investment prospectuses you created. Author Isabella Flores. Computer if ThinkPad X1. Date created January 15th. You invented the investment firms in the morning and drained the trust that same afternoon. Real investment firms use secure platforms. You just made it all up. Miss Davies whispers to her client. Is any of this true? I sometimes use my work computer for personal research. Sterling doesn't miss a beat. Let's review your digital trail. He projects an email thread. Here you are as Apex Global, emailing yourself at InnovateX to create a paper trail. He pulls up domain registration records. You registered the Apex domain name 2 days prior. The IP address traces back to your Austin apartment. Your internet provider has already confirmed it. 89 emails in total. You had entire conversations with yourself, pretending to be a portfolio manager. Miss Davies presses her fingers to her temples. You created fake accounts? That's wire fraud, Sterling says, projecting bank statements. Now let's see where the money went. Trust fund wires to Apex Global. Within 48 hours, it moves again to a personal account in the Cayman Islands ending in 6620. Your personal account. He highlights transaction after transaction. Immediate transfers offshore. Classic embezzlement. Miss Davies closes her notepad. The soft click echoes in the tense room. Sterling's voice lowers. That covers the financial fraud. Now let's discuss the personal betrayal. He retrieves a second binder, this one labeled Innovate X Forgeries, in bold print. Isabella's hands start to shake. 4 separate business loan applications, all using forged personal guarantees from Leo to leverage company assets. Miss Davies goes pale. Sterling pushes the binder toward her. Examine them. She opens it. The first page shows 2 signatures side by side. On the left, Leo's real signature from their corporate charter. The L is fluid, confident. On the right, the signature from a loan application dated last year. It's close, but stiff. The V is too perfect. The O is disconnected. These loans put the entire company at risk, Sterling says, tapping the screen. All to secure funds for entities your client controlled. He projects all 4 signature comparisons onto the monitor. She didn't just steal from a baby, she forged Leo's name to indebt the company he built. Sterling slides a thick report to Miss Davis. We hired a forensic document examiner. 47 pages. The conclusion? A 98% probability of digital forgery on all 4 guarantees. Evidence of signature duplication. Inconsistent pixelation. She scanned a legitimate signature, likely from a public filing, then used photo editing software to paste it onto the loan applications. Miss Davies reads, her face ashen. Sterling continues, his tone relentless. Your client used her CFO access to perpetrate this fraud. The same laptop used to create the fake investment firms was used to edit these forgeries. Isabella's voice finally breaks. I lean forward, speaking for the second time. You were trying to ruin us? No, Chloe, I swear. Sterling cuts her off. We're not done. He opens a final folder. In December, you tried to frame a junior accountant, creating false server logs to implicate him in the fund transfers. You told Leo that his wife's own sister was setting him up for a fall, Sterling adds. But our forensics team checked the real server logs. The fabricated evidence originated from your IP address, not the accountant's. You were creating a scapegoat. Isabella is openly crying now, her makeup running. I was desperate. I was so jealous of everything you had. You were jealous enough to forge 4 loan applications and build an elaborate frame job, Sterling says coldly. He closes the binder. Desperation is not a defense for calculated destruction. Sterling dims the lights and turns his laptop to face us. The screen shows not a document but a text message thread. The timestamp is recent. He starts scrolling. The room is utterly silent. My husband's name is at the top. Isabella's name is next to his. Intimate messages, planning secret meetings, sharing private jokes. Sterling presses a button and the damning evidence fills the screen. His voice is flat. And this provides the motive. The affair is laid bare in dozens of texts, her manipulating him, complaining about me, talking about their future. He scrolls to one message from her sent just last month. I confronted her, it reads. She knows something's wrong. We need to move faster. A reply from Leo. Just hold on. Her final message on the screen is chilling. Forget holding on. Once she's buried under diapers, she'll never see it coming. Then everything will finally be ours. He stops scrolling. End of thread. The silence is deafening, broken only by Isabella's ragged sobs. Sterling raises the lights. Testimony from the co-conspirator, he says. Admissible and authenticated. He looks to Leo. Mr. Vance? Anything to add? Leo looks at Isabella for the first time, his expression pure ice. His voice is hollow. 3 weeks ago, I found the loan paperwork. She admitted she forged my name, said she needed the money for us. He slides his own phone across the table to Miss Davis. That's not my life. That's not my plan. I'm filing for divorce. We're also pursuing criminal charges. She used Leo's digital signature, embezzled from the company, and used our business line of credit to finance her lifestyle. Sterling looks at Leo. Were you aware your mistress held a title to a South Beach condo through a shell corp? No, absolutely not. Florida law might not be 50-50, but our operating agreement is. That asset is half mine. She hid it from everyone. Leo turns to Isabella, his voice cracking with rage for the first time. You ruined our firm. You betrayed my wife. You forged my name. For what? Designer clothes? Was it worth it? Isabella is sobbing, unable to look at him. Leo, I am so sorry. We can. No, we can't. He stands abruptly. Chloe, I'm sorry I didn't see this sooner. Miss Sterling, I'll provide a full statement. He storms out of the room. The conference room door slams shut. Isabella buries her face in her hands, her whole body trembling. Her lawyer Davies slowly closes his briefcase. Miss Sterling, I require a private moment with my client. Sterling gives a curt nod. 5 minutes, the boardroom is free. Davies helps Isabella up. She's so unsteady she nearly falls. They exit. As their door clicks shut, Sterling turns to me. It's over for her. Davies knows it. What's next? She agrees to our terms, or she faces prosecution. There are no other paths. Mia gives my hand a gentle squeeze. We wait in the tense silence. The clock on the wall ticks loudly. 6 minutes later, the door opens. Davies enters alone. Isabella is gone. My client will accept your terms. Complete restitution, forfeiture of her shares, transfer of the condo. His tone is clipped. Utterly defeated. Sterling nods. A prudent decision. Davies clears his throat. She has one condition. You agree not to file a criminal complaint with the state attorney. She repays the funds, she resigns, she vanishes. That is the agreement. Sterling glances at me. The final call is yours, Chloe. Every person in the room is looking at me. Davies waits for my response. No charges filed. Do you accept? I look at Sterling. She leans in. Let's outline all conditions before Mrs. Serrano decides. Davies agrees. Full restitution of $1,200,000. Share forfeiture valued at $800,000. The condo transfer. Resignation effective now, totaling $2 million plus the property. Sterling clicks her pen. The payment schedule is 60 days, 2 installments. Sterling jots down notes. To be precise, day 1, $1 million, day 60, the final $1 million. The property deed is to be signed over today. Her resignation is immediate. She relinquishes all claims, management roles, and future interests. A strict non-disparagement clause will be included. The criminal complaint is contingent on prompt full payment. If any payment is delayed, Mrs. Serrano reserves the right to contact the authorities immediately. Davies scoffs. That timeline is impossible. Your client siphoned that money over 2 years. She can liquidate in 60 days. Sterling's voice becomes ice. And Davies, if a single payment is late, we file. $2 million is a bargain compared to 15 years in state prison. Davies stands. I need to convey this to my client. He leaves, heading back to the boardroom where Isabella is waiting. Sterling turns to me. Your thoughts? I let out a long, shaky breath. 15 years would utterly ruin her. She tried to ruin you. I know, but Mia interjects softly. But what, Chloe? She deserves to pay. Leo showed her mercy for years because of our friendship. He didn't want to hurt me by destroying someone I loved. Sterling's tone softens, and she used that friendship to steal more. I know. A heavy silence fills the room. If she repays everything on schedule, she avoids prison. But if she misses a deadline by 1 minute, we move forward. Sterling confirms. That is the offer Davies put forth. Then I accept. She has one chance. That's all. 10 minutes later, the door creaks open. Isabella comes back in, her face puffy and red, her eyes fixed on the floor. She sinks into her chair. Davies speaks. My client has agreed to every term. Sterling produces a thick document. A verbal agreement is insufficient. We require signatures. She slides the 10-page agreement onto the table. Pages 1 to 3. Payment terms. Page 4, asset transfers, deed attached. Page 5, share forfeiture. Page 6, the non disparagement agreement. Page 7, the contingent criminal action. Pages 8 through 10, signature blocks. Sterling looks at Isabella. Miss Vance, please sign on every line indicated. Isabella's hand is shaking so violently she can barely grip the pen. It takes her nearly 5 minutes to sign everything. Her signature is a barely legible scrawl. Davies signs as her counsel. Sterling turns to me. Mrs. Serrano. My signature is firm and steady. My name is clear on every line. Sterling adds her signature as my attorney. I will get this notarized and filed this afternoon. The deed will be recorded by tomorrow. The first payment is due today. Davies's head jerks up. Today? Upon signing. That was the condition? The wire transfer details are in the appendix, due by 5 p.m. today. Davies gives a stiff nod. Acknowledged. Isabella's voice is a raw whisper. Chloe, can I just say no, please? I just want you to understand. Stop. We were friends. I loved you like a sister. I stand up. You lost the right to say my name. The room falls dead silent. I look Isabella right in the eye. Everyone is watching. My voice is cold and even. You didn't just steal money. That I might have understood. A bad decision, a moment of weakness. I could have found a way to forgive that. But you tried to destroy our company. You created fake invoices 14 times, fabricated emails from my account, and built a false trail to make it look like our project manager was the thief. You went to my husband and tried to convince him his lead designer was incompetent. You tried to sabotage my projects. Isabella whimpers. I was in over my head. You were methodical. You planned every fake invoice, registered shell accounts, and manufactured a cover-up that isn't being in over your head. That is calculated malice. Leo trusted you. He gave you a key role in our firm because he believed in you and our friendship. He carried the burden of this investigation for months. My voice trembles slightly. The stress nearly broke him. He was supposed to be focusing on our baby, on our future. I steady my resolve. I'm not saying you caused this, but you stole the joy from what should have been the happiest time of our lives. You filled it with deceit. You didn't just betray our business. You betrayed a friendship. You tried to ruin my career, my marriage, and our future. Now you've lost it all. Your career, your reputation, your shares, your home. It's all gone. I lean closer. Was it worth it? Did that condo feel like home? Isabella is silent, tears streaming down her face. I don't forgive you. I don't want to hear your excuses. I want you out of my life. I turn to her lawyer. Make sure she gets this. Miss a payment, I file. Contact me or my husband, I file. Come anywhere near my home or our office, I file. She gets this one opportunity to pay what she owes and disappear. I look at my lawyer. I'm finished here. I walk towards the door. Just before leaving, I look back. We were friends. You broke that. Don't you ever forget it. I walk out. Mia follows me. We ride the elevator down without a word. As we step into the lobby, my phone vibrates. It's a text from Sterling. Payment confirmed. $1 million, 4:52 p.m. She did it. It's done. I just stare at the message. 4:52, 8 minutes to spare. She cut it incredibly close. Mia reads the text over my shoulder. You won? I can't form words. I just nod. A year of suspicion, a month of investigation, a 4-hour showdown, and it was over. That night, I'm sitting in Mia's living room, staring at a cup of herbal tea. The apartment is quiet, but my mind is racing. Mia is curled up on the armchair opposite me, watching me. How are you feeling? She finally asks. I don't even know. Numb, I think. Relieved, angry, all of it. That's to be expected. You've been running on pure adrenaline for weeks. The crash is hitting you. I can't stop thinking about Leo, how he had to hide this from me for months, gathering evidence while trying to act like nothing was wrong. He'd come home at night and hold me, never breathing a word of it. He was trying to protect you and the baby, I know, but he shouldn't have had to go through that alone. We were supposed to be a team. He wanted to shield you from the pain. Instead, he took it all on himself. The betrayal from someone he mentored, the anger, the weight of knowing our friend was trying to ruin us. A long silence hangs between us. I finally pick up my tea, the warmth doing little to comfort me. I just wonder if this has changed us forever, I say, my voice barely a whisper. The doctors warn me about stress all the time, but this, an affair, an embezzlement, a total betrayal? What if this whole nightmare, carrying this secret, what if it's harmed more than just our company? Mia's voice is firm. You can't go down that road. It will make you sick with worry. I know, but it's hard not to. I put the cup down. Leo made his choices. He chose to handle it quietly. He chose to get undeniable proof before telling me. Those were his decisions to protect his family, and you saw it through to the end for him. I did. I hope he can be proud of that. Finally, the tears come, not of sadness, but of sheer exhaustion and release. 3 weeks of coiled tension finally snapping. Mia comes over and just holds me as I cry. It's done, Chloe. It's really over. The next 60 days are a blur. Life goes on. I oversee the design projects, meet with clients, go to my prenatal appointments, but under the surface, I'm counting down the days, waiting for that final payment. Day one, that first $1 million arrived. I had spent the entire afternoon staring at my phone, convinced Isabella would fail and this would escalate into a criminal case. When Sterling's text arrived at 4:52, just 8 minutes before the deadline, I felt like I could breathe for the first time all day. Mid-March, day 75. My lawyer's call came. It's finalized, Amelia. The last wire from David's account just landed. Over $900,000. I looked at my baby bump. You're free, he said. David was gone. His affair was over. My new life was beginning. This wasn't revenge, it was our future. That afternoon, I found a listing for a townhouse on Beacon Hill. I called the agent and made a full cash offer, transferring the funds from the settlement. The confirmation felt like a clean slate. A home for my son, paid for by the man who nearly left us with nothing. There's a strange justice in that. My sister Sophie came for dinner that Thursday. We had a new weekly ritual. She was oddly quiet. I ran into someone, she said, poking at her pasta. I saw Chloe at the coffee shop. I put my glass down. What did she say? She lost her job at the architecture firm. David's divorce cost her everything. She's moving back to her parents in Vermont. Good. Sophie looked at me. She asked if you might talk to her someday. I told her that was impossible right now. The firm is still investigating the gifts David gave her, Sophie added. He broke company policy. It's separate from your settlement, but he could lose his partnership. Will he? I asked. Maybe he's already lost his reputation. He did it to himself. I know, Sophie's voice was soft. I told Chloe that excuses aren't accountability. She keeps blaming her ambition. That's her problem, not mine. Maybe years from now, if she shows genuine remorse. But I doubt it. April, 4 months post-divorce. I showed Sophie my laptop during our dinner. The title read The Phoenix Grant for Single Mothers. It would help women finish their education. I'm using $100,000 to start it, I explained. It will offer 3 things. First, tuition aid. Second, childcare stipends. Third, mentorship programs for women re-entering the workforce after being betrayed. Sophie's eyes glistened. David's betrayal gave me this clarity. Now I'm building something better from the wreckage. My lawyer joined the board. Even Sophie donated $5,000. The first grant went to a young woman from Cambridge. My partner left when I got pregnant. I had to drop out, she told me. This changes everything. I hugged her, thinking of my own son. We were turning our pain into someone else's power. Tonight, I sit in the newly painted nursery. The ultrasound photo of my son rests on the bookshelf. Beside it is my old wedding photo, now turned face down in a drawer. It reminds me of the truth. David was a betrayer. He hid a second phone, a secret life. He couldn't hide it forever. A gut feeling made me check his briefcase that morning. Some call it intuition. I call it a mother's instinct protecting her child from a threat she couldn't yet see. When I found those texts to Chloe, the betrayal nearly shattered me, but it gave me a strength I never knew. This wasn't just about a broken heart, it was about securing my child's future. Don't be like me. Don't ignore your intuition. Betrayal from a partner cuts deepest. Trust must be proven. Forgiveness is one thing, but consequences are another. When your gut screams that something is wrong, listen to it. That feeling is trying to protect you. If this story helped you, please comment on how you view justice after betrayal. Share this with someone who needs strength and subscribe for more true stories. Stay strong and trust yourself.